So, we're going to be renting this place more often?
I can't think of anything better to do.
I'm Matt Lewis with Hagerty Classic Cars, and today, David and I are going to be installing a Holley EFI system, the Terminator system, on his Chevelle.
Yep, I'm making the break from a carburetor, good old-fashioned, proven technology, we'll say, to an EFI. But I'm excited about it. It's going to be fun.
To a world that I'm used to.
It's got a lot of wires, man.
It does.
The whole idea here is Holley came to us and said, hey, how would you like to do an install on a classic car? And given the fact that my personal car, a 66 Chevelle, is not bone stock original, so I'm not taking away from any kind of holy grail, I said, sure, why not? Sounds like a great idea.
We are approaching this somewhat scientifically though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not trying to make everything completely subjective.
Right.
So the first test we were going to do is what we call our butt dyno.
Yeah.
Which is good old-fashioned. I have no tools available to me other than a very safe location to do this.
And a tape measure.
And a tape measure.
That's right. But it is worth noting, while you were on the drag strip,
yeah, I'm fully aware that I'm responsible for anything that would have happened on the track.
pretty much any insurance policy you come across, racing, no go. You're not covered at all while you're on the track.
All right, so my scientific test is
Line up
we're
with
going to
the
leave
slide.
it in drive. I'm going to look out here real quick. And all I'm going to do is line up to the white lines.
All right, we're on the straight.
Yep. I'm going to brake torque only enough to bring the RPM up, and then just basically tromp it, and
'Cause we don't
what
want-
happens, happens. There you go. All right. There's the beauty of
Made noise.
an automatic.
There's two.
Oh! Stick your tires the second time around.
You're hotter. That's right. The other tests we're doing, we are already at Northern Michigan Dragway, so we might as well take it down the 8th mile and get a couple times in to see how fast you can go before we install anything.
Yeah, that way we have a real world data point, we'll say,
Right.
that shows, okay, this is the performance, more or less.
Gonna leave it in drive, let the tranny do the shifting. We'll do the same thing as far as launch. We'll work on 2000.
You gonna smoke them this time?
Yeah. I gotta give you the full experience.
Right. Install it.
That's why I don't like this carburetor.
The next one will be true chassis dyno testing. This is the horsepower and torque numbers that you get to the rear wheels, which again is a real world test.
Yeah.
With data though.
And right in our backyard, we have Love Fab,
Yes.
who do excellent work with modern cars, but they have a dyno.
Yep, and he was tickled to death when I said I was going from a carburetor to EFI. And then, not that this is the most important thing in a classic car, but it certainly is a nice extra, we'll say.
It'll be a testament to what this system is capable of.
Which is our fuel mileage test. So in that, what we're going to do is we're going to top the tank completely off. It has the old school filler neck that you can see the fuel come up into. We'll bring that fuel right up to the top level, top it off, leave that gas station, make a beautiful route up the peninsula here, and come back to the same exact spot and top the fuel off, and we'll know exactly what we use for fuel, and then we'll do the same exact comparison with the EFI system.
Do a wine tour while we're up here?
That doesn't sound bad. I can have my wife come get us when we're done.
She likes driving the Chevelle, doesn't she?
She won't mind.
The part that will be subjective is obviously the maintenance of a carburetor, let's say, the tunability of the EFI, and of course, it's just more convenient.
Right.
The reliability side of it.
Well, right. You can walk out to it and fire it up any time of the year.
Right. Without pumping the gas 14 times.
That's right.
I did a little perusing of the instructions. I know that's kind of like cheating in man world, but at any rate,
Absolutely.
I did notice that there is no ridiculously special tools.
No, it's actually
Okay,
a fairly short tool. List.
I mean, I got a small blade screwdriver. I mean, heck, this should be easy.
Who doesn't have a number 2 Phillips, huh?
Yeah. Now, granted, I have collected a couple
extra
tools here and there that I think might make things just a pinch easier, but there's certainly no reason you can't do this on your back and your driveway in a safe manner.
I've done plenty of stuff like this on jack stands.
So we have a throttle body with the fuel injectors and all the sensors.
Yeah.
Bolt on, bolt off for the carburetor. An exhaust sensor, O2 sensor to other folks. Fuel pressure regulator for the billet fuel pump with a pre-filter and a post-filter. Fuel pressure sensor, and then we have the controller to set up all the programming.
The programmer. And over on my side of the table, I've got wires with wires and wires and wires. But not to get too daunting with this wire thing, they are all very clearly labeled, and they come with a little pluggy on the end, so you don't have to worry about where they go or what they fit into. Cool. It's all labeled out for you. And finally, the brains of it all, the ECM.
Excellent. All right, so the other item we have is, of course, plumbing up the fuel line. We got all the fuel fittings.
And beautiful braided fuel line.
There we go.
Let's get going.
Let's do it.
There you have it. We have a table full of parts and one installed Holley EFI system.
Yes, we have. And it fired up within about the third or fourth try.
Right, once we figured out there's a little bit of a vacuum issue, it was alarmingly plug and play.
In fact, I'm going to say the most difficult piece of putting the whole system together is the fact that this car never had a return fuel line, so
Absolutely.
Had to drop the tank and weld into a bung into the tank for the return line, which I took to a professional to do only because I have never done that in the past, so basically put it on him.
And welding around fuel seems like something that probably should be left to professionals.
At least experience.
So beyond that, I mean, really the difficult parts were working with braided fuel lines.
Yep.
Which isn't terribly difficult, but it's something you have to learn. Running some electrical wires and tidying them up, making them neat.
Correct.
And then a little bit with that little controller, figuring out getting through menus and being efficient with that. But all in all, I was pretty surprised with how this thing fired up as soon as we got going. The programmer has a really nice setup wizard. You select your CID, you select your ignition type, the type of cam you have, and you run with it.
It gives you a nice place to start.
It
nice
does. And
calibration
then
point.
the nice things about these, with all the sensors, is it learns and it figures itself out, starts to smooth out. It gets nice.
It does. It's kind of funny how it goes, I'm searching, I'm searching, I'm searching, I'm searching, I'm searching, I'm searching. Okay, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So from here, we need to do some more driving for it to self-learn, and then
run it through the paces.
Yeah.
Same thing we did before we got the kit.
Yep, off to the dyno, do our fuel test, and hit the drag strip for hopefully a little faster times as well.
The dyno was great. 328 horse to 360, right?
Yes, that's
And
phenomenal.
460 foot-pounds to just over 500.
Yep, which I guess shame on me kind of shows that my carburetor tuning abilities may not be as good as I'd like to think it is,
Right.
but it was an old carburetor.
Not every car is going to see that kind of increase from this kit. Even Holley says it's not a performance upgrade necessarily.
The ease of putting the fuel injection on, starting it up, tuning it, in the self-tune mode was phenomenal. And adding that little kicker with the extra dyno tune to speed that process up definitely showed its results.
Absolutely. And that was fuel economy. We saw that too.
I think that is the largest shock for me. I fully expected him to be better, but I was thinking maybe 3 to 4%, not 20. A little over 11 going into it, and now over 14. That's tremendous. So now, at the drag strip, we did our butt dyno and running ETs. Butt dyno, pretty impressive, would you say?
It was impressive last week.
It was impressive last week, yes. But doubling,
This was
more than
super
doubling
impressive.
the distance,
This
I think
is
was huge.
This is a clear example of power exceeding grip.
All right, so $2,000. Right? There's $2,000.
I think you did a little bit more on that one.
It was all rev limiter. Evidently, these radial tires have a limitation of torque being applied to them.
It's just under 500.
Yeah, yes, because things were one-for-one test method and purely different in a big manner.
More than twice the strip.
Correct.
201 feet.
And a little squirmy.
Well, that's
I might
just
add.
fun.
Yeah. Okay, so our ET results, initially, I was a little disappointed.
Yeah.
Other than maybe the show put on wouldn't be so bad.
Right, you did smoke the tires for an entire 8th mile. Considering you smoked the tires of the whole 8th mile, I'd say there's not enough compound down. That was
Yep.
That was not a good pass.
Yeah, not exactly what you're looking for, though, in this method of test. So,
Right. As fun as it is.
yeah, so obviously the additional power, I needed to back out of that RPM, and finally ended up lowering some, also lowering the tire pressure to get a little more bite. We still gained 3/10.
We did.
So
While smoking the tires.
while smoking the tires,
Yeah.
yeah. So a little quicker and impressive looking, I guess we'll say. So overall, easy to install,
Easy to install.
performance improvements all the way around in our scenario. And I think every test will improve on the efficiency and the capability.
Yeah, as that
Reliability.
system learns, it's just going to get better.
I guess maybe enough of this and let's go drive.
Yeah, we should let the system learn some more.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's good.